गौरव क्यों गा रहे हैं हम लोग? पांडव, विभिन्न मंगल आरती. You want to sing? हाँ? Did you offer yoga now?
Yes. I've been told also. No, I'm done. I've already offered. Yes, yes.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Nyatmadanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki ISKCON Ireland Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga.
श्री नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, भक्त प्रहलाद की, श्री प्रभुपाद की, श्री गुरुदेव की, जय गौर प्रेमानंद।
श्री पंचतत्व भगवान की
Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Radha Krishna Seva Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Satchavacha Namo Namah
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavataya Namo Namah
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Satchavacha Namo Namah
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavataya Namo Namah
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Paridevi Satchavacha Namo Namah
Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Kesavascha Vishnu Bhakti Devi Satyavataya Namo Namah
Tulsi Maharani Ki
Jai
श्री चैतन्य शिक्षाष्टकम की
Jai
चेतो दर्पणमार्जनम् भवमहादवाग्नि निर्वापणम् श्रेया कैरव चन्द्रिका वितरणम् विद्यावद्भूजीवनम् जगत् सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लिक्ष्यवापादकान्तिनस्तु माम् आदर्शनान्महतां करोरुपाम् यथा तथा भाविदधातु पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. First offense to the holy names of the Lord. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy names of the Lord. Second, to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the names of the Lord Vishnu. Third, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Fourth, to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance with the Vedic version. Fifth, to consider the rule of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. Sixth, to give some interpretations to the holy names of the Lord. Seventh, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Eighth, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious futuristic activities which are offered in the Vedas as spiritual activities. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna.
Now let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like the desire trees who fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasinuvayascha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
So we'll have Shringara at around 15 past 7, and then Guru Vandana at 6:30, and then followed by Bhagavatam class.
Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram
Hare Krishna.
ठीक है, ठीक है। हाँ, ये बात
Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada,
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Kevala Bhakti Sadma
Esi Bhaktivinoda Swami Shri Prabhupada ki, Iskon Acharya Shri Prabhupada ki, Ananda Gaudiya Vaishnava ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki. Go! All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So welcome everybody for the morning program. So we'll sing Jai Radha Madhava and try to get that mood, and then we'll start with the socializing. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari have the invocation prayers and then we can start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandakopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, so today we'll be seeing from first canto, first chapter, 10th verse. So we are going to see how deeper it is. So today we will have a glimpse, as Prabhupada says, that Krishna has unlimited features, and just like Krishna lifted a Govardhan hill, so at that time each and every devotee had their own reciprocation with Krishna because they saw Krishna in different perspectives. So whenever we see Krishna in different perspectives or Krishna gives new realizations, it said that we feel a new fresh realization. So in the same way, Bhagavatam is nothing different from Krishna. So we are going to see today how each and every verse, when seen from a different perspective, has a completely different and profound meaning. So that's what we're going to see from today's canto and verse, and how it's relevant and practical to our spiritual life. So let's recite the verse and then we can discuss that in detail. Prayen alpayusha sabha Kalau asmin yuge jana Mandasu manda Manda bhagya hupadrita Prayena alpayusha sabhya Kalau asmin yuge jana Mandasu manda matayo Manda bhagya hupadrita Prayena alpayusha sabhya Kalau asmin yuge jana Mandasu manda matayo Manda bhagya hupadrita
Kaena alpayusha sabhya
Kalavasmin yuge jana Mandasu manda matayo Manda bhagya hupadrita
Prayena alpayusha sabhya
Prayena alpayusha sabhya
Kalasmin yuge jana
Kalasmin yuge jana
Manda sumanda matayo
Mandasu manda matayo
Manda bhagya hupadrita
Manda bhagya hupadrita
Kaena alpayusha sabhya
Prayena alpayusha sabhya
Kalasmin yuge jana
Kalavasmin yuge jana Mandasu manda matayo Manda bhagya hupadrita Mataji? Prayena alpayusha sabhya
Kalasmin yuge jana
Mandasu manda matayo Manda bhagya hupadrita. Prayena, almost always, alpa, meager, ayusha, duration of life, sabhya, member of a learned society, kalau, in this age of Kali, quarrel, asmin, herein, yuge, age, jana, the public, manda, lazy, Sumandamataya, misguided, Mandabhagya, unlucky, he, and above all, Padrita, disturbed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki Jai. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. When the sages of Naimisharanya analyzed the state of affairs of the people in this age of Kali, they foresaw that men would have short lives. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. Therefore, the duration of life is shortened. The people of this age are also very lazy, not only materially, but in the matter of self-realization. The human life is especially meant for self-realization. That is to say, man should come to know what he is, what the world is, and what the supreme truth is. Human life is a means by which the living entity can end all the miseries of the hard struggle for life in material existence, and by which he can return to Godhead, his eternal home. But due to a bad system of education, men have no desire for self-realization. Even if they come to know about it, they unfortunately become victims of misguided teachers. In this age, men are victims not only of different political creeds and parties, but also of many different types of sense gratificatory diversions, such as cinemas, sports, gambling, clubs, mundane libraries, bad association, smoking, drinking, cheating, pilfering, bickerings, and so on. Their minds are always disturbed and full of anxieties due to so many different engagements. In this age, many unscrupulous men manufacture their own religious faiths which are not based on any revealed scriptures. And very often, people are addicted to sense gratification or attracted by such institutions. Consequently, in the name of religion, so many sinful acts are being carried on that the people in general have neither peace of mind nor health of body. The student, brahmachari, communities are no longer being maintained, and householders do not observe the rules and regulations of the Grihastha ashram. Consequently, the so-called vanaprasthas and sannyasis who come out of such Grihastha ashrams are easily deviated from the rigid path. In the Kali Yuga, the whole atmosphere is surcharged with faithlessness. Men are no longer interested in spiritual values. Material sense gratification is now the standard of civilization. For the maintenance of such material civilization, man has formed complex nations and communities, and there is a constant strain of hot and cold wars between these different groups. It has become very difficult, therefore, to raise the spiritual standard due to the present distorted values of human society. The sages of Naimisharanya are anxious to disentangle all fallen souls, and here they are seeking the remedy from Srila Sutta Goswami. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa-gadavyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visahanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyartha Deshakarine Hare Krishna. So, very good verse. Probably you would be very, ecstatic probably after reading this. So, let's see what is there for us to learn from this verse today. So, as we see here that, so, yeah. So, as we see here, that Srila Prabhupada says that what are the situations which we are going to go through in this Kali Yuga. And we can see that everything has come to pass. We can see that people are lazy, they are misguided, and they are not much, they are having short lives, and ultimately they are always disturbed. So let's try to understand what's the reason, and Srila Prabhupada gives it directly. The problem is that although one of the reasons is the atmosphere is surcharged with faithlessness, due to which nobody is interested in spiritual life. But at the same time, and owing to that, what is happening is people are having artificial standard of life. Prabhupada says as one of his purpose that if one wants to practice spiritual life, one needs to have purity of mind. If only one has purity of mind, one will be able to focus on spiritual life. Otherwise, mind is always going to get disturbed. There is no doubt about it. So the problem is there is no purity of mind. And hence we say, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So when we chant, when we follow a spiritual process, first thing that happens is it purifies our mind. So that we can focus, Vivasaya Atmika Buddhi. So we can focus on our spiritual life. But purity of mind can come only when we have purity of actions. When our actions are pure, our mind can be pure. Because if we do some actions which are questionable, it's obviously going to create a samskar which is going to pollute and agitate the mind. So we need to have pure actions. And if we want to have pure actions so that we don't act based on urge or temptations or whatever, we need to have purity in our eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Which means we need to follow the 4 regulative principles. Basically, this is what it means. Prabhupada says that. So until and unless we follow the 4 regulative principles, it's not possible that we will be able to sustain in our spiritual life. So that is the reason Prabhupada says purity is the first. Unless we follow spiritual life based on the foundation of 4 regulative principles, which obviously means 16 rounds comes in that because we are following a spiritual life. So until and unless we follow a spiritual life with 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles, which are the basis, not the maximum, without that there is no possibility that we can have a purification of our mind and actions. And if we don't have that purity, obviously we will be disturbed, and if we are disturbed, obviously we can't have quality. So that's the reason Prabhupada says that 4 regulative principles is a must. But okay, sounds good. We are trying to follow Prabhuji, 4 regulative principles, 16 rounds, okay. But still we see that there is lot of agitation, lot of disturbances, etc., etc. So what is the way out? Practically, what can I do so that I can solve all the problems? Like if there is a lot of knots, so what we do? There is one knot which is holding them all. So if you open that one, then basically it opens up and we don't know what to do. So what is the root knot which is causing all the problems, practically speaking? So let's try to understand how it is all working out. And Srila Prabhupada has pointed that out in a very directly but in a very subtle way, which we are going to see today. So as everybody thinks that Prabhupada gives the basis, but it's not like that. If we go deeper, we realize Prabhupada has included all the commentaries of our acharyas, but he is just doing it in a simple way. So we are going to see how deeper and how ecstatic the purport actually is. So let's try to understand. Okay, so when Prabhupada says that we need to follow a spiritual life, so what is the purpose of spiritual life? In terms of anyone? What's the purpose of spiritual life? What we are trying to gain?
Gain love for Godhead.
Okay, and why do you need love for Godhead?
Go back to Goloka.
And nothing is wrong. You can try. We are in this honestly.
Anyone else answer?
Gain our constitutional position, like
Satchidanand, yes. So we can see that it's our constitutional position to be happy. So that's the reason we can see that everybody is ultimately trying to find happiness. What's the ultimate goal? Be happy. And that is what we're actually trying to find even in this world. So we are actually trying to be in our constitutional position, but the problem is we are in a wrong place and trying to find it in the wrong situations. So if you want to be happy, the problem is where we are trying to find. Initially, when many people try to find it in what we say in good birth. Some many people try to find it in good birth. Okay, if I have a good family, good birth, and very prestige, that will be good. Then afterwards, people evolve with time, so they think, okay, maybe I should have a good family, and in that case, maybe I can be happy. Then they think maybe wealth. Then they think maybe fame. Then they think finally maybe power, mystical power, or maybe mundane power in this world, or mystical power, being a yogi, or probably going to heavenly planets, celestial enjoyments. And then finally they think maybe liberation, getting out of this place, maybe that will give me happiness. But finally, after going through all this, they finally come to a place that okay, maybe there is God, there is a person, and his name is probably Krishna, and probably it is through his connection with him which can give us happiness. And that is the reason we are all here. So when that is being said, that okay, our ultimate goal is having connection with Krishna. So what can we do to enable or work on that connection? So that is what we need to understand. Okay, so I understand that my happiness which I am trying to find is being in connection with Krishna. Then I can be ultimately happy and being in my constitutional position. That is my goal. So what is it that I can do, and what is it that Krishna said to get to that position? So for that, if we see, the ultimate instruction is Smartavya satatam Vishnur Vishmartavyo na januchit sarve viti nishedhasyur etayo eva kinkara. So it comes in Padma Puran, it comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it comes in many places. So this is the ultimate, one of the practical instructions which we are going to see what it means. So what it basically means is Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a long philosophy where it is established, but what we need to understand is he should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. This is an interesting thing. If we see Bhagavad Gita, in many places we can find Krishna is also hinting to this point. Man mana bhava, man bhakto. So he's trying to say that always remember me. Satatam kirtayin toma, ananya shintayin toma. So he's saying ultimately we need to give our mind to Krishna. And through that, ultimately, some way, if you are going to remember Krishna and never forget him, that is the ultimate goal. And if we see, that is the reason Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness. We need to be always conscious of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal. That if we are always conscious of Krishna, means we never forget Krishna. So that is the ultimate goal of all the process which we are doing. And that's why Satatam Kirtanito. So how are we going to get there? So this is one of the verses composed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where he is saying what is the essence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. And there it comes, Prema Pumartha Mahan. This is one of the most quoted verses by Srila Prabhupada, where it says Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartha Mahan, which means Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless authority on everything. That is the reason we see. And we know is the original commentary on Vedanta Sutra and all those things. And pure love of God is the ultimate goal of life. We have heard Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We have heard these four Purusharthas. But we can see that Prema is the fifth and the final Purushartha which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. So this is the reason. That's when we came to know that there is love of Godhead which is there, which will actually give us happiness. Because till then we always thought liberation can give us happiness. Ultimately, either we are finding happiness here, we don't find here, so let's get out of here, let's get liberation. But even liberation can't give us that happiness. It's ultimately a relationship with Krishna and loving devotional service which can actually give us happiness. Okay, so enough of philosophy, but let's try to get to practicality. So, okay, I understand Prabhuji, we have come so far understanding this, but what can I do? I see that it's too far enough. So, what's the way out that I can do practically? So, in one of Prabhupada books, I read this phrase, or I can say sentence, which actually moved me. which is to become Krishna conscious, you have to first become conscious. This is very, very interesting. We are saying that we want to become Krishna conscious. You know, we have to be conscious of Krishna, we need to always think of Krishna, but problem is we don't even know what we are thinking and what we are doing. It's everything is in autopilot mode. That's the biggest problem. And because we don't have control of what we think, feel and do, that's the reason mind is basically sweeping us off time and again. That okay, let's do this, let's do that. You know, we act based on our instincts. Why? Because we are not conscious of what we are actually thinking and feeling. And until unless we get control, or at least we are aware of what we are thinking and feeling and doing, we won't have the power to work on them and transform them. Then where is the question of being Krishna conscious, transforming it to focus on Krishna? So that is the reason first we need to become conscious, then we can work on becoming Krishna conscious. So the ultimate goal is becoming conscious of Krishna, which means getting control of our consciousness. And how to do that, that is what basically Prabhupada says it in a very esoteric way in our purport, which we are going to see today. So let's try to see what basically bhakti is. We can understand that okay, ultimately the process is bhakti which can get us there. It's not that, you know, we can do some jnana or something. We can see the greatness of bhakti first of all. So we say Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnanati Ashna Vairagyam Jnanam cha yad ahitukam. That Jnanati Ashna Vairagyam Jnanam cha yad ahitukam. That by rendering devotional service, which is basically bhakti, one immediately gets costless knowledge and detachment from the world. So we can see even knowledge can be gained and detachment can be gained when we do bhakti, which is what most of the other schools try to do, spiritual schools try to do. Gyan, yoga, etc. etc. They say that we need to take sannyas, means renounce this world, which is when their spiritual process begins. You know, in other classes like Gyan Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, etc., until unless you renounce everything, become a sannyasi, spiritual life does not begin. But here Bhakti, what it says, that as you just render devotional service, knowledge and detachment automatically comes. So this is the greatness of Bhakti, we can see. And we have a long, short or long information on Bhagavatam. If anybody wants, they can also explore 6th canto, 1st chapter, 6 to 19, where Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami discuss how, atonement is also incomplete. Like Sukadeva Goswami mentions that about hellish planets in 5th canto, last sections, last parts, he mentions about hellish planets. So being, Paradukka Dukhi, Parikshit Maharaj asked that what can be done to save these souls. So first Sukadeva Goswami, he tests. So he says, we can do atonement. If anybody does something wrong, let them atone based on what's given in the Shastra, then they will be clean. So, there's nothing to worry. So for that, Parikshit Maharaj says, I understand, but problem is, as soon as he does the atonement, he again does the very same thing which he atoned for. So it's as if an elephant went to take bath, and then as soon as it comes out, it plays on, it falls on the ground. Again putting all the dust over it. So it's just the same thing. You do the mistake, you atone for it, and again do the same mistake. So it's like, why are you doing it then? So basically that's why Sukadeva Goswami is happy. Okay, fine, good, he passed the first test. So he's like, yes, this is in the mode of ignorance, because ultimately you're not going anywhere. You're just in the same loop. So then he says, he should follow rules and regulations, Yamenacha, Damenacha, and Brahmacharyena. So follow rules and regulations, celibacy, chanting the holy name, etc., etc. and all. So through that, one gets knowledge, and he will know the do's and don'ts and curtail himself from doing the wrong thing. So when he has knowledge, he'll be able to know what should be done and what should not be done due to the transcendental knowledge, and he can avoid himself from engaging or indulging in those wrong things. But problem is, unfortunately, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, even Arjuna says that I don't want to do, but still I'm forced to do, because there is still that desire for enjoyment or sense gratification which is there inside, which when we get the first opportunity, it will come out. Although I control myself, I should not do, this is wrong, etc., etc., many things. But when that opportunity comes, that's the test. Basically, opportunity becomes available that we can do the wrong thing. We know we should not do, somehow we are forced to do it. So for that, Krishna, that's why Sukadeva Goswami says, it's like burning the dry leaves, but still the root is there inside the ground. So that's why even if a forest fire happens, all the trees get burned, but the roots which of the trees which are below the ground, they are still safe. So that's why they grow back again. So in the same way, the sin also, the propensity to sin also grows back again when the opportunity comes. So even Gyan cannot help us, neither can atonement. But the only hope is bhakti. So that's what in detail is given in 6th canto here. So we can explore that. So here the greatness of bhakti is given, and that's the greatness. And what's the process of doing bhakti? Okay, so bhakti can transform our consciousness, which we are doing. So one way we are saved there because we are following the process. You know, our Prahlad Maharaj says that Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Marchanam Vantanam Dasam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So we can see that it starts from Shravanam and Kirtanam. We are going to come back here. So our bhakti starts from Shravanam and Kirtanam. So okay, so we are in the process. Currently we are doing Shravanam. We just did Kirtanam before we did Japa. So we can see we are following the process. But the thing is, there is something wrong somewhere. We can see. So what is that impediment? This is what we are going to see in today's session. That's what we saw in 1.1.10. So this is coming, as we saw in Prabhupada's purport also, this actually comes from the purport given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he gave the purport for the same verse, 1.1.10. And there he says, yes, these 5, being short lifespan, laziness, less intelligent, than and unfortunate, and finally always disturbed. These are the problems of Kali Yuga, of course. All these 5 problems we can see in all the people. But at the same time, for those who are trying to follow a spiritual life, these are the 5 levels of obstacles which a person who is trying to aspire in spiritual life has to face. So this is also an interesting thing. So what he says, that's short lifespan. So if someone says that, okay, I want to practice spiritual life, if we go to someone and say we want to practice spiritual life, so first problem is short lifespan, which means less time. Time nahi hai bhai mere paas. So this is the first obstacle which comes in their life, that I don't have time. So there is many people get bored. Then next thing comes is lazy. Okay, some people are like, okay, they are interested to hear, they wait, they stop and they hear what you are saying. So they are interested. But problem is they are lazy to engage well, spiritually lazy to engage well. They like to hear, but active, they are not getting active in spiritual life. So that is why they get stuck. So they are passive, they are ready to hear. You may call them, they can take prasad, they can take book, but they themselves actively do not engage in any of the limbs. So there is hope and scope and potential, but they don't engage themselves. They don't jump into the river of bhakti. So that is the second problem. At least they came, but they are stuck there. Then less intelligent. So someone might say, okay, fine, someone takes out time, someone is ready to come, try to practice it. But problem is, he thinks that, okay, I have Bhagavad Gita, I know the process, let me try it myself. I don't always need to come to temple or congregation, I can do it in home myself, right? So in that way, he thinks that using his own intelligence, he can try to understand the Shastra, he can follow the process, and maybe he can attain Krishna. So this is the problem. So that's the third problem, that we think that we are self-sufficient, and that's where they get stuck. And unfortunately, as we know, imperfect senses, somewhere we are going to go wrong. So okay, fine, someone is lucky, he thinks, okay, I always make mistakes, so let me ask someone who is a senior, maybe he can help me so I can get better, I can progress faster. So but unfortunately what happens, falls prey to a swindler, pakandi ke paas phas jata hai. So then what happens? Both fall into a ditch. So he tries to get the answers, and then he finds someone in a saffron cloth, and he says something which is not from the Shastra, but unfortunately, he gets cheated. Okay, fine. If we see, we all have crossed all these 4 obstacles. We obviously have short lifespan, but we are taking out time. We are actively engaging in service. We know that we are not perfect, so we attend classes. Then we are fortunate that we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON movement. But now we are always disturbed. We have Srimad Bhagavatam, we have Harinam, we have bona fide Acharyas and Gurus. Everything is before us. But one's mind is so disturbed that one struggles to be attentive and conscious. This is the biggest problem. As we say, so close yet so far. So that is the biggest problem. That we got so close that we cross all these problems, because 99.99% people get stuck in this 4. They don't come till here. But we got till here, and now we are not, in this process of Krishna consciousness. We are saying we are engaging in this process of Krishna consciousness, but our consciousness is missing in this. That's the biggest problem. So, kind of, we are following this, which is obviously very good, and Krishna is watching, and Krishna is going to, guide us to get progress in this. But problem is, because our consciousness is not involved in this process, problem is we are not getting that desired purification. That is the problem. Obviously, even then we are going to get purified. But how much mercy is there, we are not able to access that mercy. That is the biggest problem. We say the process is not working, the process is perfect. The practice of the process has some issues. And the problem is, our consciousness is not completely engaged in it. We say, right, get absorbed in it. Someone is saying and we become very attentive. And once when we are speaking in a family, they are saying some interesting story, or when we are working, we are in a meeting and someone said, okay, Prabhuji, they won't say Prabhuji, but you have this work. So in that case, we are like, okay, what work is he saying? So we will be very attentive so that we don't miss it. So in that way, when we are so much focused in those things, have that same focus in our spiritual life, then obviously our consciousness is not going to get that much purified. The more we, consciousness is coming from our soul. So when we absorb ourselves in that consciousness, what happens? Then the mercy which is there, the gem which is there becomes available, and that goes inside our consciousness. That is how we get realization. So when we absorb our consciousness, Krishna sees that sincerity, and the mercy is already there by Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu and everyone. So we get that gem, and then that comes out as our realization. And that is when our faith and surrender increases, and our engagement increases, purification, everything increases. So until and unless we give ourselves to the process, as Prabhupada says, give yourself, sell yourself this one life to Krishna. So until and unless we give our consciousness, we won't know what kind of gem we have got, gem of a process we have got. So that is the reason we need to work on getting our consciousness into it. So okay, so the problem is clear now. But what's the solution? The problem is, why is our mind disturbed? Let's get to the root. Okay, our mind is disturbed, I agree. We need to focus on what process we are doing. That also I agree. But why is my mind disturbed? And what can I do in order to become more attentive? We need to speak of the solution. So the thing is, the change you want to make to progress in bhakti is this movement. We need to understand this. The thing is, if we closely introspect, why is our mind disturbed? If you closely think what all things are coming in my mind when I'm trying to do bhakti, then we understand one thing. What is that? We think that if we fix certain things, or if you closely think, you are trying to do something, you always think, okay, I need to do this work, I need to do this service, I need to do this, I need to do that. There is always the thing of doing which comes in your mind, usually, which is there. And why is that doing mentality coming in your mind? Because certainly you're thinking, if I do this, then probably my life will get better, and hence I'll be able to, do my thing properly. So actually we are trying to fix the situation we are in so that we'll be able to have a better disposition. But the problem is, our mind thinks, if I do that thing, complete my project, or if I complete my seva, then probably, then I can be happy. We say, right? Bas wo ho jaye, fir aur kuch nahi hai zindagi mein. If that thing happens, I don't need anything in life. Then my life will be very cool and happy. But the thing is, it's not like that. As soon as you fix that in practice, you will see. As soon as you fix it, something else will come. As soon as you either fixing it or achieving or fulfilling your desire, be it anything. As soon as you complete it, you will jump to another thing. So we can see that actually fixing those things or fulfilling those things is not the solution. Because which is what the mind is running after, and that is why it's agitating you. Do this, complete that, fulfill that, etc., etc. When we are going to chant and when we are going to do service. The thing is that mind thinks grass is greener on the other side. If I complete that, then everything will be good. See, that Prabhuji is doing, so that's why he's able to chant very good. But we don't know what's happening in their life. So we need to understand grass is greener where you water it. So unless you work on your chanting and your bhakti first of all, you won't be able to fix all the problems which are going through. We need to understand. That is the illusion which we are in. We think if I fix that, my bhakti will go good. But until unless we focus on our bhakti and do bhakti properly, those problems are not going to end. That is how Maya is trying to do. It's like Maya knows where I'm going to run. So that is the exact place. Maya is not going to keep that piece of puzzle. She is going to keep exactly where you are not going to go.
So basically we think if we fix that, then everything will be fine. And when everything is fine, I will focus on bhakti and I will, then everything is good. But the thing is, until unless you focus on bhakti, you dedicate yourself to Krishna, those problems are not going to end, because there are innumerable problems which Maya can give. In fact, Maya doesn't even need to give. We already have those coming by our karma. So until unless we work on our bhakti, our spiritual, our problems and all those things due to which our mind is running around is not going to get fixed. So the first thing is give yourself to bhakti. That doesn't mean you ignore your responsibilities, but we say work while work. So in the same way, doing while you do bhakti or while you do chanting, focus on chanting. Until unless you give your consciousness in those 2 hours, the rest 22 hours are not going to be good. So, and those 22 hours, how you are going to live your life or how you are going to behave and all, that's going to decide your next 2 hours of chanting, which you are going to do tomorrow. So that's the reason you live in the moment. You need to balance this. Often we go to extremes. So we need to focus on chanting when we are doing chanting, focus on service when we are doing service, and when the time comes, automatically you can focus on those things. Until unless we are going to, have control on our consciousness like this, practically speaking, focus on what you are doing. Until unless we do that, neither will we be able to fix our material problems, or we can say our responsibilities, which are dovetailing to Krishna, nor we can do our seva properly, nor we can do our sadhana and progress in spiritual. We will be nowhere. So we need to focus on sadhana or japa when we are doing that, focus on seva while seva, and focus on duty while duty. Until unless we have that control on our consciousness like this, mind is always going to make us run around. Let's do this, let's do that. We would have the experience. When we want to study for the exam, we say, okay, my friend has called, let's go there. Then when we are playing, we think, okay, I'm hungry, let's go and eat. Then when we are hungry, we think, oh, now, some Kaun Banega Crorepati or something is running, let's see that. And then when it's time to sleep, we think, oh, I didn't study. I have this, most important questions, 1, 2 and 3. At least let me study this. And then before 2 hours of exam, we are going to sit and study. So this is the problem. We are running behind what the mind is saying instead of taking charge of our consciousness. This is the root cause of the problem. Because until unless we take the charge back from the mind and focus on what we are doing, till then mind is always going to say, we have to do this, we have to do that. And how it goes ahead, being comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's how it starts. So basically what we need to do, that the change is always constant. By the way, anyone has any doubts till here? Everything is clear till now? Okay. So we understand, okay, I need to take charge of my consciousness back from the mind. Okay, I understand. This gives me some clarity. But that is not going to be easy. At least initially, it won't be easy. Because we are so much accustomed that our mind will run away, that it's very easy that we'll do the same thing rather than taking charge of our consciousness. 1-2 days we will be able to do, then again 1 week will be mind will again take charge, then 1-2 days again we'll try to come back, again we'll go. So we will be always like this. But at least we need to understand that we need to get comfortable with it, we need to accept it, we need to learn to live with chaos. We need to understand that. If we are like, the problem is, if you introspect, you will understand that we are actually seeking peace of mind. If I have peace of mind, then I will be able to do bhakti. But the problem is, we will never be able to achieve that peace of mind. Because the problem is, we need to accept that, first of all, we are in Kali Yuga, and another, we are not that much pure, we are not sadhus yet, we are sadhakas. So for that reason, we need to understand that the mind will anyways be disturbed. Chanchalami Mana Krishna. So we need to understand, we need to accept, first of all, that the mind is anyways going to run like a monkey. If we are going to expect that the mind will be focused, it will be peaceful, and I will be able to do bhakti very nicely, then when it is going to run, you are going to get frustrated. You are going to get frustrated when you are not taking charge, which is happening now. And even when you try to take charge, that time also you get frustrated. Oh, I am not able to do Prabhuji, it is so hard, and you are going to give it up. So you need to accept that the mind is anyways going to run, and just need to pull it back. Abhyasana to kaunteya, vairagena cha kriyate. Krishna says in many places. It's going to run. Asamsaya mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. Mind is anyways going to run. But abhyasana to kaunteya, practice. It's going to run, again bring it back. Just like a child. Child will say, I want ice cream. Mother will bring it back. Child will again say, I want ice cream. Mother will again bring it back. Then child will cry and lay down in the ground. Mother will pick it up and then go somewhere. So basically, you need to accept that mind will run away. But you need to always keep pulling it. You need to get comfortable with it. That even if the mind runs, I feel chaotic inside, but even in that chaos, if I'm going to focus, try to focus on my Krishna consciousness. Even if I focus for 1 minute out of that 2 hours, even that is a success. Better than 0 minutes, obviously. And then it will eventually grow. So problem is we try for perfection. 2 hours chanting, perfect chanting. Then that is good. Otherwise I will get frustrated and I will give up. This is the biggest problem. So try for 1 minute. And even many of the acharyas say, and Maharaj in today's times say, that try to chant one round of one mantra of Hare Krishna mantra attentively. At least try that. Eventually it will go to 1 round, then it will grow. So focus on progress rather than perfection. So this is the first thing we need to remember. So take charge of your consciousness, which is the first thing. But how to do that? Don't focus on perfection, but on progress. And the last thing is, serve Krishna by being satisfied in whatever position you are in. Mind will be restless. Kind of the same thing, but the thing is, lastly you need to remember that even if you try to fix those things, this is kind of an antidote, like we can say, like painkiller. Mind will say, but we need to fix that problem. But you need to remember, even if you fix that problem, it's very interesting. In case of Swami Maharaj says that even if you say that mind is saying, oh, this puzzle is unsolved, so you try to fix that problem in your life. And the problem is, what life is going to do, as soon as you fix it, it will give you some satisfaction, and immediately like the wheel, it will again run it out. It will turn it out. And again, oh my God, my life is in problems, and again your mind is going to bother. So this is how your mind is getting attracted. This is how your consciousness is trapped here. So I will probably come back here in a minute. So what one of the quotes Radhanath Swami Maharaj says, that these are the 2 ways that Maya tries to take our mind away from Krishna, tries to make us untrue to Krishna. How? One is by attracting us through objects of the senses, and another, if it doesn't work, then through fear. So the first thing is, there is some pleasure, shiny, money, person, fame, power, or even slice of pizza. Even nowadays, for us, slice of pizza is enough. We will forget Krishna. If you say pizza prasadam is there, gone. Krishna is not in our consciousness. So in that way, our consciousness is hijacked. But if we are somehow able to focus on Krishna, okay, that's fine, but I want to focus on Krishna, then there is another powerful tool. What is that? Fear. Urgent problems. If I don't do that, what will happen? What if I don't complete the project and my manager escalates and I become jobless and I lose my visa, then I am not able to handle my family issues, everybody is starving, we go somewhere. And then there is no way we are going to able to attend to japa. So basically these are the 2 ways Maya, or we can say our consciousness is getting hijacked. The thing is, either through pleasure or through pain, our mind is going to get distracted, our consciousness is going to get distracted. But we need to remember that ultimately fixing them is not going to solve the problem, but actually focusing on the process is only going to give us the satisfaction which we are actually trying to find. So ultimately, what is the solution? We understand. Okay, these are the practical ways. What endeavor we can do? Okay, pull the mind back. I can understand. Focus on the japa or whatever spiritual practice. Okay, I understand. Even if I fix those problems, it's not going to get solved. I do it as a duty. I do my endeavor, but that's not the ultimate solution. Okay, I understand. But these are our tiny endeavors. Because by this, ultimately, mind is obviously not going to get controlled. So what is the ultimate solution? The ultimate solution comes in our Bhagavatam 1-18, which says that Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shlokya Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So as I said, take charge of your consciousness, right? But where you have to project your consciousness, especially in Shravanam. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam comes first because when we hear from great souls, from Pustak, from Person Bhagavat, then what happens? We are, because even if we chant, even if we read, that is essentially needed. But how much can our consciousness grab? Our consciousness, which is the medium to realize and grab those knowledge, transcendental knowledge, our consciousness is limited. It's not that much pure. But when we focus our consciousness on those souls who are eternally pure and eternally serving, their purity is the force is there in them. When our consciousness is focused on them, then their purity comes within our consciousness. So that is where the real transformation happens, extreme transformation. So that is why hearing from sadhus is extremely important. That's why sadhu sangha is very important. So when we hear attentively, when great souls are there and we hear from them, and obviously when we are so much attentively hearing, we cannot resist contemplating on them because we have so much has gone inside, we have to work on it. And it automatically comes. So that is where you can understand. So if you consciously heard it, by default it will be there within your mind. Okay, in the lecture I heard this, I heard that, how can I do, what does that mean? Automatically your consciousness will be observed, that is the proof. So if after the class, if you are like, okay, I need to solve this, solve that, you can understand, you were not, our consciousness was not there in the class. But if your consciousness was there in the class, you will be contemplating on all the instructions or all the things which you heard. And when we do that, automatically, eventually, Krishna will make sense out of it. You will be able to connect the dots. And you will be able to see how you can implement it in your life. And when you do that, because you heard from the great soul, even if you understand it by yourself by reading, still you won't be able to implement it because you won't have that much mercy with yourself to implement it. For example, if you read that, okay, I need to like attentively hear, you read in purpose purport or attentively read and do the process. You would still try, but still the mind would run away and you won't be able to focus it. But when you hear from the great souls, because they themselves follow, yatat asarati shreshtas, and purity is the force. And because our consciousness was connected to them, because we are absorbed, their purity comes within us. So the mercy has come within our consciousness. So now doing that same instruction becomes very, very easy. So that's the reason, even in one lecture, Amrinda Prabhu says that, oh, I know it. This is the biggest problem. When we say I know and we block the consciousness, now the mercy is blocked. So now even though you know that past time, there are many, many gems which are hidden which we are not able to access till now. What if I focus and now I get a gem which will transform my life? We never know. So that's the reason, the more we hear and hear the same thing, that's the reason Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplified by hearing Pra Charitra and Dhruv Charitra morning and evening, daily and daily. And there are many more reasons, but this was one of the reasons he was trying to teach, that more and more you hear attentively and again, many more things are going to come. So that's the reason what we need to do. We need to hear attentively, through which we will get the mercy. So when we do attentive hearing, then automatically our consciousness is going to get purified. And controlling the mind becomes very easy. The mind itself is thinking about that. What more do you need? And then when you implement that, automatically your life becomes more transformed. Then your heart is going to get transformed. And then eventually you will be able to focus more on the service because your faith is increasing. And now you are trying to control your mind because you heard from great sages. So the starting is attentive hearing, Shravanam. So that's why it says, Shravanam Bhakti we say. We see that Rukmani actually got attracted to Krishna by just hearing about Krishna. She never saw Krishna before. During the Swayamvar, when Krishna took her, with him, that was the first time Rukmani saw Krishna. That was the first time she saw. But she got so much attracted because she heard the qualities and the pastimes of Krishna which attracted her. So you can see that hearing attentively has so much potency. And when we do that, then we'll be able to do Kirtanam. Because until unless we have attentive hearing, we won't be able to do attentive Kirtan or Japa. And until unless we are able to do chanting and sadhana, we won't be able to do engage in service. And it all goes. So that's the reason we need to attentively hear. Bring our mind attentively here, and then rest of the things will automatically happen and stay in sadhu sangha. So these are the ways we can practically transform our lives. Alright. So anybody has any questions or any comments on today's session? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Abhishek. Thank you so much for the class. Prabhuji, you mentioned that we should work while work and chant while chant. So how does Satyanto Kirtanam fit here? Like, how do we constantly remember Krishna in our lives?
So in that case, you need to remember that one thing is doubting. So before you are doing any task, you can think that why you are doing. First of all, you will be doubting those activity. You will be knowing that what activity you are doing, why you are doing. So in that way, you will be able to dovetail that activity, and in that way, it's also one way of a service, obviously. This is one way which kind of comes in, you can say in Karma Yoga. So in that way, some way or the other, this is also, coming within the jurisdiction of devotional service. But the best way is, you are doing your duty, That's the reason morning program Srila Prabhupada designed. That morning Bhagavatam class has to happen. So when morning Bhagavatam class happens, and as I said, when you focus on hearing, so automatically what happens? Your mind is focusing on what you heard. So when you are contemplating on those teachings while you are also working, which is classical example as comes in the Shastra, that woman is serving very well her husband, although she is thinking about someone else to meet in the night, which is obviously a transcendental way of saying how your consciousness can be attached to Krishna while you are engaged in this work. So in this way, when you attentively hear in the morning, what happens? Your mind is focusing on that activity, on what you heard, and at the same time, whatever your activity you are doing, you are obviously doubting it. But at the same time, when you are continuously thinking about, okay, this thing, what I heard, what can I do, how can I implement. So when you're thinking about all those things, automatically you're thinking about Krishna, because the instruction was from Bhagavatam, which is none other than Krishna. And probably you can come across some like-minded people with whom you can share this also. So in this way, this is the best way actually you can always think of Krishna. How you can think of Krishna? Think about the instructions given by Krishna, and how you can note that instruction, hear from a sadhu who is giving the instruction, which means attentively hear what the sadhu is saying. In that way, you can observe your mind on the instructions and always remember that throughout the day.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, you said we should keep faith on the progress rather than this thing. So how do we keep consistency in that? I mean, it's fine one or 2 days or 2 months or 2 years we can do it. How do we keep the consistency going? What is the way to do it?
For the only way for consistency, one sure way for consistency is sadhu sangha. Until unless we are in sadhu sangha, we need to understand sadhu sangha also. Sadhu sangha means, there is characteristics which is given by Rupa Goswami as well. So 3 characteristics they were given. It comes like that, something like Sajatiya also comes, one of the word which I remember. So when you remember, sadhu sangha means obviously with senior devotees, which means if some senior devotee comes, or probably fortunately if some Maharaj comes, that is the best thing. But at the same time, we are not fortunate, we might not always get an association. So the best thing to do is be with serious and sincere devotees and daily associate with them by hearing and attending the sessions online or offline, and share whatever is in your mind. Goya Makyati Prachati. So when you share whatever is in your mind about spiritual life, how you can progress, when your focus is on spiritual life, and in that way, when you are engaging yourself with those devotees, discussing and doing this process with them, then it becomes quite easy. Then consistency becomes easy, because you are able to see the consistency which they are able to do. Basically, how it works, you are seeing 10 devotees are doing, and each of those 10 devotees are thinking these 10 devotees are so serious. So each and everyone are thinking these 10 are serious, but actually all the 11 are coming together. That is the reason this is all happening. So that is the reason we say all glories to assembled devotees, because in Kalo Sangha Shakti, that's how it works. So if we keep this momentum going, each and everyone will get inspired and he will push himself, and in that way everybody progressively goes up. So that is the best way we can actually stay consistent. And we need to remember that sadhu sangha means the best thing is from Mahatma. But even if we are not able to always get their association, if two serious devotees, maybe of same level, even on the same level, if they are going to discuss seriously about devotional life, that is the reason Prabhupada said that I want my disciples to study my books in association and discuss it on different perspectives. So when we come together and Srila Prabhupada books, see it from different perspective, we share with each other and discuss what challenges we are going through or what realization we had recently, and when we share with others, that is going to inspire others. And as Krishna says, recently I saw the verse or the post from Maharaj, that when we help others to get elevated, then Krishna automatically is going to elevate you. So if you help them to come up by 2 steps for the other person, Krishna is by default going to give you promotion by 2 steps. You don't need to worry even. So you get advantage by default. You don't need to work on the 2 steps. It's going to be automatic. So in this way, when we are going to be serious in sadhu sangha, helping each other, that's the reason we need to work on the culture. Sometimes we see that some devotee is suffering, then what we say, oh Prabhuji, it's your prarabdha, you tolerate it. philosophy is good, but still philosophy is for self, and culture is for others. We need to remember that also. That if someone is suffering, or probably someone was running, and probably I was running, and I broke my head, and if someone is saying probably it was your bad prarabdha, it's good that it has gone. Okay, I can think for myself, but others, what they will do, they should be able to come and take care and inquire. So that is how the culture and philosophy goes together. Philosophy is for myself, so that I can understand it from the right perspective and keep my mind one pointed, that okay, and focus on important things rather than trivial things. But we need to follow the culture so that the other person also feels valued, because everybody is searching for warmth. So when we value them, whether they be new devotees, visitors, new devotees, seasonal devotees or seasoned devotees, let them be anybody, they will be feeling more inspired to stay in the association, and hence the sangha will be there, and the growth will keep going on, and in fact it will grow. So this is actually essentially needed. And when we have this sangha, and in sadhu sangha, and hence we need to discuss, come together and discuss. So even that is sadhu sangha. It's not even coming together among the devotees. That is also considered sadhu sangha. And yes, Guruji?
Just one other one about not being happy in the moment, and also thinking ahead that there will be a solution, but it's not necessarily the solution. At the same time, we're trying to, like, the whole thing is, the whole sages are gathering together because they're asking this question, is the Kali Yuga is like this, so what do we do, what are we meant to do at this time? And you are answering it all right, I sat beside them discussing. And I'm just thinking from that perspective that there is also an uncomfortableness in the situation, right? Because if we were comfortable in the situation, then we wouldn't do anything,
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously some kind of balance there between being uncomfortable and then also not to just be, your mind is just thinking solutions.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit more on that?
Yes, exactly. So, like, one way, yes, we searching for comfort is actually wrong, as we discussed, because, and there will be discomfort. So why is it that we always see that being comfortable with the uncomfortable always pays off? That is what we saw a couple of weeks before also. How commitment, we saw in the game of life,
Yes.
that how commitment early on, even though it is giving little bit of difficulties or strain,
Yes.
actually pays off more. So why is it, this theme is common throughout life, that there will be discomfort, but if you embrace that discomfort, it's going to pay you off more. Why is it that when you search for comfort, problem increases, and when you accept discomfort, the reward increases and problem suddenly vanishes? This is because that is how illusion works. As I said, I think Krishna wanted and Prabhuji hence asked, so I wanted to cover this slide as well. So what happens? We run behind success, which ultimately makes us complacent and proud. The problem is, we think if the problem gets solved, if the situation is good, that is the best thing to do. But actually, that is where actually the strongest illusion is. You are searching for comfortable situation in your life, comfortable disposition in your life, but you don't know that is the strongest realm of Maya. Because that is where, if life has no problems, that is where you are going to become complacent and proud. There can be someone, but tell me who prays to Krishna when life is going good? Hardly. Or probably even if we pray, our consciousness is like, Bhagavan is on the altar, he is dancing and happy. My life is also happening. I will offer my obeisances. God is good there, I am also good here, everything is going good and we are happy. It's coming from the lips, it's not coming from the heart. Prayer never comes from the heart when the situation is good. So that is the reason in creation, probably in second canto, Krishna says that Brahma, when he created this world, he created it with the ingredient of pain. Dukkhalayam. Krishna wantonly created this world as Dukkhalayam because he knew if the place is Sukhalayam, we will never come back to it. And there are many more reasons, but this is one of the reasons. And this is, as we said, we think, miseries are Maya. But actually, even happiness is a bigger Maya, bigger illusion. Not Maya, there is Maya, illusion for us. So basically, we need to remember that we actually run behind success, we run behind comfort, but actually that is where we become complacent and proud. And then by default, when we become proud and complacent, our spiritual life is going to get weak, then we are going to slip somewhere, and then automatically we are going to run behind Krishna. Oh Krishna, help me, I'm in this problem. So that's why it's obvious. When you become comfortable, you're obviously going to go down, go to discomfort, again cry, then again come up, then again get comfortable, again go down. So this is the loop we are actually stuck. So basically comfort zone, this is the problem. When we come into comfort zone, we are kicked to go into discomfort. But problem is, we make progress, come up, and then situation becomes good, and then we again get comfortable. So again, we are made to get kicked, again we go down. So basically we are not progressing somewhere. So we are either in discomfort or in comfort. We are not going to, creative mode or where we are striving beyond the limits. So that's why we need to remember, we actually run away from failure, which has the potential to make us rethink and look within. So this is what we need to remember. That actually discomfort, if you see, that's why Krishna says, don't get attached to the result. You think that the result, if it is success, then everything is good. If the result is failure, then everything is bad. But actually, that doesn't mean you don't work to make it successful. You do your best. Krishna will take care of the rest. But the main thing is, there is a lot more to learn in failure than it is there in success. Because that makes you pray deeper, that makes you think deeper, that makes you introspect deeper. And that is where the gem actually comes out. That is the reason you need to embrace discomfort. Be comfort with it uncomfortable. We need to live with the chaos. Because that is the reason this world is there. Krishna knows that. That is the reason there is pain, there is dukkha. And in one lecture I heard, Maya is like a dog which will chase us till we go back to Godhead. Even a person is in bhav. Even a bhav, the devotee who is in bhav, Maya is trying to do all the things. She will not try to leave any stone unturned. Even a person can in bhav, most probably he won't fall. But even there is a possibility for him to fall also. So that's the reason. Maya will not let us get comfortable. The problem is, as soon as we get comfortable, we think, okay, if you more closely introspect, I want to solve this problem, I want to solve that problem. Why? Because I want to settle in this world. If you go more closer, I want to solve this problem in my home, I want to solve this problem in my family, in my finance, so that I can do bhakti. So you are thinking that I want to do bhakti, but I want to settle in this world and do bhakti here. So it's kind of, I am happy to do bhakti. So in that way we are far better than everyone. But I want to do bhakti being in this material world. So that is the biggest problem. That is the reason there is miseries in this world. So that we don't settle here. We do bhakti and come back to me. Don't sit there. So that's why there are many problems in this world. And that is where we get many realization, and that is where we will see hand of Krishna. So Krishna's hand cannot be seen in our comfort. Krishna's hand is more visible in our difficulties. And that's the reason Krishna comes in midnight, after all those troubles which happens to Vasudeva and Devaki in that past time, obviously. So that's why we can say Krishna comes in the pitch darkness, because when we see no other hope, that is when Krishna comes. And just like when there is no other hope, at dark midnight, Krishna comes, and there is all light, and all the doors and everything open. So in the same way, when we have no other hope, that time when we pray deeper from our heart, then we see Krishna's hand. It happens as per his reciprocation. So that time it becomes clearly evident how Krishna is reciprocating. Just like that is the light which we see through Krishna, and the dark moments which actually increases our faith and surrender to him. So this is how basically the whole world works. That is the reason we should not get comfortable. And as I said, what is actually good, what we think is good is actually bad. And what we actually think is bad is actually good, if we see. And this is evident from Srila Prabhupada's letter to in Lilamrit. We see the letter which Srila Prabhupada wrote to Mahatma Gandhi at the end, just before his assassination happens of Mahatma Gandhi. He wrote the last letter to Mahatma Gandhi. In that he clearly states what actually illusion is. And also he writes a poem in Vrindavan before going to US. That Krishna has shown me the real face of this world. So in this way, those two things actually what it is, the difficulties which are actually going through are the moments when illusion is presented to us as it is. Actually that's a mercy. We are getting uncomfortable, we are getting disturbed, but that's actually Krishna's mercy where he's showing the illusion as it is. We are thinking, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this project, I will get promotion and everything will be good. We are thinking it's actually an illusion what is going in our mind. And Krishna suddenly, plays the game. and then we see, oh, actually this is not what's going to make me happy. I just need to do my part and then actually focus myself in Krishna consciousness. So this is what Krishna is trying to tell me. But my consciousness gets agitated and I'm asking Krishna, please solve this problem. So we are basically saying, Krishna, stop lifting the wheel of illusion. Please wait. I'm not yet ready to come back to you. This is what we are saying actually. So actually when difficulties are coming, that means Krishna is lifting the wheel of illusion. And because we have so much attachments and so much of things in our consciousness, so that's just as we say, right, side effect or hangover. It's a hangover of our disease of illusion. That whenever Krishna is lifting the wheel of illusion in the mode of disguise of difficulty, our consciousness gets agitated. That's why Krishna says tolerate. The favorite quality of Krishna is titikshava, tolerance. So if we just tolerate, we will actually see the hand of Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada saw. That that's why he was laughing when his factory got caught fire, because he could see. So that's the reason, because great devotees can see. Now it will all make sense that in the verse where Krishna says 1088:8 that that I steal away. Let me see if I get that. Yeah, it is okay. So here Krishna says that Sri Bhagavan vacha yasyaham anugrahanami harishetar dhanam shanai tato dhanam tyajanti asya swajana dukkha dukhitam. That the person of God said, if I especially have favor someone, I gradually deprive him of all his wealth, then his relative and friends of such poverty-stricken man abandons him. In this way he suffers one distress after another. So it makes sense now what actually Krishna means. We become fearful, oh, what is Krishna saying here? But actually this, now we can see actually how merciful this thing is. That's why Krishna says, if I especially favor someone, that means Krishna is going to lift the wheel of illusion directly. So that's the reason he will be able to see what the world is. That's the reason Prabhupada writes those poems in Vrindavan, that I'm able to see the world in its real form. And now we can make sense of Kunti Maharani's prayer also, that I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again. So we can see what great devotees, what's the perspective of great devotees are. That they see difficulties as the medium or mercy to wake them up from illusion, so that they can go closer to Krishna by seeing his hand. So when we are able, that's the reason we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, live with the chaos, so that we don't get settled in this world. Hence we push ourselves so that we see Krishna's hand, hence our surrender increases, all when we are attentive in our hearing. So this is how everything works. So actually that's why we are thinking that problem is the illusion. Oh, Prabhuji, you're worrying so much, this is all illusion. Yes, okay, yeah, that's illusion, we don't need to worry about those things. But actually the comfort is actually the greatest illusion in this world.
One question. We know that Maya is the energy of Krishna, one of the energies of Krishna, and Maya attracts people. It is said that indirectly, Maya, who attracts these people, are taking them back to Krishna. Explain.
So basically, we can say that in Hindi there is a thing, Lata Kibut Bato Se Nahi Mante. So basically what happens that if a person is not ready to hear properly when we say that you do this thing my child, if you do this it will be good for you, but the people don't hear, then what happens? We need to beat the child so that they hear. Just like Prabhupada gives the example of, if there is civil laws of a citizens who hear. But if you are not following civil laws, then there is criminal law, criminal department. There is civil department, there is criminal department. So if you hear, for you there is civil department. If you don't hear, there is criminal department. So if we hear and follow, then there is Yogamaya already, Krishna's internal potency. We can directly, engage in Krishna's service. But if we don't, there is Mahamaya, Maya Devi, who is like a criminal department. That's why it's a prison house, where she basically gives us these miseries. We are, many people are in illusion that I can be happy in this world. We want to go back to Godhead in one way, that the desire is there, but somehow or other we don't realize how we are illusioned that we want to settle in this world as well. That little bit, that subconsciously that is there. But if we see outside, everybody are consciously, desperately trying to be happy in this world. For them, ultimately what can happen? Until unless they get frustrated, this illusion cannot be broken. At least our illusion can be broken because we are following spiritual life. We have a desire, to go back to Krishna. So Krishna and devotees are fanning that. So eventually we will wake up. But for them, there is no other way than to, kick them through the illusion of miseries. So that's why Maya Devi actually gives them miseries, makes them frustrated. If she always gives frustration, the people will run away. So Maya Devi gives this and then she takes it away, so that people feel that real frustration. You know, if we take it away and people see there is nothing here, they will search for happiness automatically from Krishna. But there won't be sincerity. It will be like, oh Krishna, I can't be happy here, so I am coming to you. I have no other choice, so I am coming to you. So Maya Devi is like, okay, see, gives something, then takes it away, then again gives something else from here. So that what happens? Yes, he completely gets frustrated. He becomes convinced that I cannot be happy. So that he is completely frustrated. And then finally when he turns to Krishna, when he gets completely frustrated, that is when from deep inside the heart it will come, what is the purpose of life? Then he will inquire. If there is no option, then he going to Krishna is not deep. Because there was no option, so I came to you. So that's not from the heart, that's not from the soul. That was just from the mind to search for happiness. That was, you are trying to enjoy Krishna. But when you get frustrated so much, then Maya Devi just broke your illusion that you cannot be happy in this world, so that from the heart you ask, what is the purpose of life? And then finally, your spiritual life will start. So it's a gradual process. Maya Devi is trying to break the illusion and bring it back to Krishna.
Thank you.
Amen. ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
प्रभु की जय।
Thank you so much, Prabhu. नहीं हो